We all know and love the dumpling, right? That warm, juicy, perfect little pocket of goodness. It seems so simple, but its story is one of the most surprising tales in all of food history, and it starts somewhere you would never, ever expect.
I mean, think about the last time you had a plate of dumplings. You were probably thinking about what kind of dipping sauce to use, not about medicine. But what if I told you this incredible meal didn't start in a kitchen at all, but in a pharmacy? What if it was actually a doctor's prescription? Because that's the truth. The dumpling was invented not for taste, but for healing. It was a prescription designed to cure the sick during a brutal winter almost 2,000 years ago. So let's peel back the wrapper on this amazing story. Our story kicks off with the man who created it all. And here's the thing, he wasn't a chef. He was one of the most famous physicians in Chinese history, and he was staring down a massive public health crisis. Okay, so picture this. We're in the Eastern Han Dynasty around 280. It is not a good time. There's war, there's plague everywhere. A doctor named Zhang Zhongjing, who was so good they called him the sage of medicine, he comes back to his hometown of Nanyang and just finds his people in a terrible state, suffering through a viciously cold winter. He saw that so many of the poor were suffering from something called dong year. That's a really severe and painful frostbite of the ears. Because they were malnourished and freezing, their ears were cracking and getting infected. Dr. Zhang knew he had to do something. And his solution was, honestly, pure genius. He came up with a prescription he called jiao. He took ingredients known to warm the body, mutton, ginger, chili, and wrapped them all up in a little piece of dough. But look at the shape. He folded them to look like little human ears, kind of following a like cures like philosophy. These jiao, which means tender ears, were then boiled and served in a hot broth to warm people from the inside out and heal those painful frostbitten ears. And you know what? It worked. The prescription was a massive success. But how on earth did this potent medicine turn into a symbol of wealth and celebration? Well, the answer is in a really cool evolution of both its shape and its name. Over the years, something fascinating started to happen. The original jiao, shaped like an ear to heal the body, slowly changed form. People started shaping it to look like ancient Chinese gold ingots. So the dumpling literally went from being a symbol of health to a symbol of wealth. And get this, the name changed too. The word for dumpling, jiaozi, sounds almost exactly like the word for the transition of the hour, specifically that moment the new year arrives between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. That little bit of wordplay basically cemented the dumpling's place as the food for ringing in the Lunar New Year, a symbol of a rich and prosperous new beginning. Okay, so anyone can make a dumpling, right? But making a perfect dumpling, that's a whole other story. It's an art. And there are 3 key secrets passed down for generations that separate a pretty good dumpling from an unforgettable one. Secret number 1 is all about the wrapper. You start with high gluten flour to get a strong dough, but the real magic happens during the rest period. It's a process called xingmian. This step lets the gluten relax, and that's what creates a skin that is perfectly tender but still has that satisfying chew. All right, next up, the heart and soul of the dumpling, the filling. The secret to that incredible juicy burst when you bite into it is a technique called da shui. First, you mix your seasonings into the meat until it gets really sticky. Then you slowly, and I mean slowly, stir in broth. The meat actually absorbs all that liquid, which then turns into a savory soup when you cook it. That's the secret to an unbelievably juicy dumpling. And finally, we have to cook them. Now, this part might sound a little weird. You drop the dumplings into boiling water, wait for it to come back to a boil, and then you toss in a cup of cold water. You do this 3 times. This 3 boils method is brilliant because it lowers the temperature just enough so the filling can cook all the way through without the delicate skin turning into mush. When they float to the top and look all puffed up, they are perfect. But a dumpling is so much more than just a recipe. Every single step of making them, especially when you do it with family, is just packed with symbolism and meaning. So when a family gets together to make dumplings, they're doing way more than just cooking dinner. This simple act of kneading the dough is seen as a wish for family harmony. The process of everyone sitting around the table, wrapping each dumpling by hand, that is a physical symbol of togetherness, of reunion. And of course, every little ingot you fold is a little wish for wealth in the year ahead. And beyond all that beautiful symbolism, there's also a really fun tradition that kind of turns dinner into a game. So, feeling lucky? You just might find a special little surprise waiting for you.
During New Year's celebrations, it's really common to hide a few special items inside the dumplings. So if you're the one who bites into a dumpling and finds a clean coin, that means you're going to have a year full of wealth. And if you find a piece of sugar, well, your year is going to be sweet and happy. It's just a really playful, hopeful tradition.
So, from an ancient medical prescription to a symbol of good fortune, the dumplings journey is far from over. It's still evolving, adapting to new tastes and new cultures all around the world.
Just take Taiwan, for example. They've taken the classic boiled dumpling and innovated it into the crispy pan-fried pot sticker, or guotie. And the fillings have gone way beyond the classics to include things like corn, shrimp, even curry. And instead of just serving them with vinegar, you'll often find them paired with a big bowl of hot and sour soup. It's delicious. So the next time you sit down to a plate of dumplings, just take a second to remember its incredible 2,000-year story. A story that started as an act of compassion, a doctor's clever prescription to heal his people, and evolved into a symbol of wealth, a centerpiece of family reunions, and a beloved food that continues to warm hearts and stomachs all over the globe. It's a food that literally carries history, medicine, and wishes in every single bite. Which, of course, leaves just one very important question for you to ask. When it comes to the classics, which side are you on? Cabbage and pork or chive and pork? Thanks for tuning in.